got Piggy Book 1 maps, the backbone of the game that so many people hold dear, and the ones that define an entire genre of Roblox for so many years. To be honest, they're kinda not that good for the most part. Hi everybody, my name is Benjerizer and welcome back to my channel. Guys, today, we're gonna be ranking the Piggy Book 1 maps. Now, I'm sure if you've played Piggy, you've probably just played these maps. These are all the ones from the first book of the game, and that's the one that, like, most people played. Now, there's 12 of these, and we'll be ranking all of them from house to plant, so let's get into it.
Disappointment in the game of life.
Alright, coming in dead last is easily the gallery for me. It is such a waste of a good idea. An art gallery map sounds really cool. You can do a lot of really interesting things with it, but they just don't. It's really boring. It's not really an aesthetically pleasing map. It's also not fun. Honestly, the best thing about it is that you can just grind coins on it. It is one of the absolute best maps for that, because if you know what you're doing and you get a little lucky, you can literally beat this map in like 2 minutes. The bot also isn't really anything that good. It's just Father, who was one of the worst skins in the game for a long time. And yes, he did recently get a decent upgrade, but I don't think it's enough to save this chapter from last place. And don't even get me started on the story. This is the most filler chapter of Piggy you'll ever see. Quite literally, nothing happens. It's just to bridge station and forest. It's actually kind of funny. So yeah, gallery is not a good chapter. Moving on.
Circus.
I'm sure you guys are shocked that this one isn't in last place. Next up, we have the Carnival, and where the gallery I don't think is very visually appealing, the Carnival absolutely is. I think the Carnival is one of the coolest looking maps in the game. The gameplay, though, is pretty horrible, I'm not gonna lie. This is most people's least favorite map in the entire game just because it is so spread out. They made it incredibly easy for players to just not even see Piggy half the time, making playing Piggy on this map near impossible to win. Like I said though, I do like the way the map looks, and Clowny is a really cool bot, so it definitely gets some points there. Plus, the story is really good. This is where we get introduced to Zizzy and Pony, and I think that's really cool. Anytime a main character of the story gets introduced, I'd say that's pretty much a plus. But it still does not save this chapter from the deep pit that is 11th place.
Peter, I would like to remind you that you are in a classroom.
You guys are actually probably surprised that this one's so low. Next up, we have the school. Now, this is, in my opinion, one of just the most boring maps in the game. The entire thing, just like Carnival, is just a giant box, making it pretty hard to get kills as Piggy. Unlike Carnival, though, it's not quite as big. And I can also excuse it a little bit more just because this was one of the earliest chapters in the game. I still just don't think the gameplay is all that engaging, and also the teacher bot is just not very good. I think the new version that we got in the decaying season is way better and should just like replace the old design, because this original teacher kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. But once again, this one definitely gets some bonus points because this is where we are introduced to Bunny and Mr. P. So I mean, having Mr. P in a chapter is always a big plus. But even then, I feel like the story is a little bit lacking. Like, we don't really get any huge revelations in this one, so that's why it gets 10th place for me.
Hi, my name's Forrest Gump.
Now, I've actually kind of changed my mind on this next chapter a little bit. It's still pretty low, but I've had it lower in the past. Next up, we have the forest. Now, I think the main problem is that tower. That tower actually sucks. The amount of times I've died because of like the bad collision on that tower is ridiculous. It's also really easy for Piggy to kill you up there, so I just do not like that. The rest of the map is low-key fine, though. I think it's actually pretty cool. It is actually visually appealing. I think the forest aspect of everything could have been done a lot better, but it's not done horribly here. Once again, though, I think Sheepy should be replaced with her Decay version, because that version is so much cooler. And I know technically it's not, like, the same thing, but she also has a scientist skin, which could also be used for this. Basically, just update the bots because this Sheepy skin is not very good, and there's much better ones now. But this one does benefit from having some pretty cool puzzles. This is also where Doggy dies, so I think story-wise, it's definitely a little bit stronger than the past couple. Still not a good chapter, I'd say, but it's not that bad. Moving on.
Get in the car, Morty! Get in the car!
I feel like this one might be a hot take, but next we have the station. Now, I've just really never vibed with this chapter that much. I think it's visually pretty boring. I do like the acid lake at the bottom. I think that's pretty cool. But really, I've always just found this chapter very dull. Above all else, it really does feel like Minitoon's second attempt at making a chapter. So there's just a lot of things he still had to figure out. And therefore, it's not bad. It's just not very good. I do like escaping using the car and bringing gas to it. I think that's pretty neat. And this is where we get introduced to Doggy, so I think that's pretty cool too. But then once again with these early bots, I think they just need to upgrade the Mother bot because Mother is not really a good skin at all. Still though, this is probably just one of the more middle of the road chapters. I don't really think this one's bad.
House. Roadhouse. That too.
Alright, next we got the one that started it all. We got the house. Now, I actually am a fan of this one. I think this is actually a pretty solid map. I'd say it's probably the one I've played the most, maybe besides Carnival. And it's probably the one that I think of first when I think of Piggy. So it definitely gets a little boost because of its iconicity. But still, gameplay-wise, it does have a couple things that kind of hold it back. Specifically, the vent that players can just hide in. That's always been a huge issue. And there's a couple other, like, annoying spots in the house that just really aren't that good. And while the base Piggy bot is pretty iconic, I wouldn't exactly say it's a good skin. Still, not a bad first showing at all.
Somebody better call the ambulance.
Alright, next up, we have the hospital map, which is one I actually really like. I'm not gonna lie, I actually really like this map. This is actually the best map for grinding season points whenever a new season comes out, and it's also pretty good for grinding coins, just because it's really not that hard of a map. Once you figure everything out, it's really not that bad. I also think Barry is a really cool bot. He's really neat, and is a big step above, like, all of the other early Book 1 ones. I also think this is probably one of the harder maps in Book 1, which is really good because a lot of these are really easy. Where this one kind of falls short, though, is in the story department. I don't feel like a lot happens. You kind of just get left behind by Mr. P in this one, and then it's like, oh, looks like we gotta go to the metro, and that's basically all that happens. So, I don't know, man. It's not the best in that department. Still, this is a really enjoyable map, and I really enjoy it. Moving on. This one is definitely a hot take, but next we have the mall. I actually really like the mall map. Yes, it's just a big square. Yes, it's one that all the freaking noobs choose constantly because it looks cool. But that's the thing. It's visually appealing. It looks cool. I enjoy playing this map because I like looking at it. It's one of the least dull ones and has a lot of really cool different areas. Also, Robbie is a cool bot. Yes, his jump scare is like 10 decibels too loud, but I do really like him. He's really cool. And he also has like some kind of story relevance eventually, so I think that's pretty neat too. Plus, the story of this map is great. This is where we find Georgie and then we actually go to the safe place, and then it sets up the big finale of Book 1, which I think is absolutely awesome. There's just so many great things in this one. And honestly, I don't even think the gameplay's that bad. I like Mousy in the vent. I think that's a pretty neat touch. And there's just a lot of really cool things in this one. So that's why it gets 5th place for me.
I think I miss my wife.
Alright, next up, we have the plant. Now, this one, I feel like people are gonna get mad at me for because this is the big finale, conclusion, and everything like that. But I don't really think this map is that good. I think the story does a lot of heavy lifting because the story here is absolutely great. I think the story is probably the best out of any of these chapters. That final cutscene is really good. It explains so much. And even the beginning cutscene is really cool. And like, it's Mr. P, dude. I freaking love Mr. P. And yeah, having him as a bot is really cool. I like how he works. I also think Badgie's a really cool skin. They should definitely replace him with his alternate skin from all the way back from season 1. But even now, I do like the Badgie skin. I think it's a pretty solid one, especially for Book 1. I think my main problem with this map is the way it's laid out, because the giant green area and the giant orange area are very far apart from each other and don't really like interconnect. This is one where you gotta like break off into 2 teams, which isn't like a bad idea, but I don't know. I don't like the green side nearly as much as I like the orange side, because the orange side is way easier. So like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But then once you get to the second half, I think it gets really cool. I like the doggy and bunny ghosts and everything, and I think there's just a lot going for it in that section. Still though, I think this map does have a fair share of its problems, just gameplay wise, so that's why it's this low, but it's still a really solid map.
Rabbit season! Duck season! Rabbit season! Rabbit season!
Next up, we have one of the all-time greats, one of the nostalgic greats, Metro. Now, obviously, story-wise, this is one of the best. This is where Bunny dies, and everyone was crying all over the place when this happened. So it definitely gets some major points there. I also think Zompiggy is just an awesome bot. If you're gonna do like a more basic long dress bot, then this is how you do it. I think Zompiggy still holds up to this day as one of the coolest in the game. And also the gameplay is just good. This is one of the more tight maps in the game. It's not a particularly difficult one, but there's so many places where Piggy can just trap you and jump scare you, and there's just a lot of great stuff like that, so I think it gets a lot of points there. It's also just very replayable. I do really like playing this one. If I'm gonna play a book 1 map, this is one of the first ones that I'm down to choose, so that's why for me, this is gonna be taking our bronze medal.
Good morning.
Lois, since when does an elephant live here?
In second place, we have the city. Now, I still remember when this came out. I played it with my brother, and we absolutely sucked at it, because this map is probably the hardest one in book 1. Having 2 bots, even with one of them being as slow as a snail, was something we really hadn't seen before, because, yeah, Doggy was a bot, but he kind of just roamed around and did nothing. Like, when was the last time you died to Doggy in Forest? Then again, when was the last time you died to Grandmother in City? So I don't know where I was going with that. But still, that was a really cool concept. They introduced a bunch of new items like the fire extinguisher and the dynamite in this chapter, and those were like revolutionary for the game. And I also think the story's pretty cool, like trying to get to the safe place. I think that's a really neat idea, and it does set up the mall and finding Georgie at the end, so I think that's really cool too. You also get some really good insight into who Pony and Zizzy are as characters, which once again is just pretty neat. And yeah, this one is just really enjoyable on a lot of different levels. It has a pretty good amount of difficulty to it while still being pretty fair, so that's why for me, this easily gets second place. And our grand champion of this list is the Outpost. I absolutely love this map. To this day, this is still one of my favorites in the entire game. I have a lot of nostalgia for this one, as I'm sure a lot of you guys do. This was one of the big ones that came out. This was right before the finale, and we were all like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. It has Cyborg Mr. P at the end. It has Pony and Zizzy, like, gearing up to fight the 1,000 Piggy soldiers or whatever. That ending cutscene sets up Plant so amazingly. And I mean, even the beginning cutscene sets the stage for this kind of finale of the story so well. And like, the whole chapter is just cool. You put gas in a tank, and then you shoot a door open with a tank. That's pretty freaking awesome. And Torture is also just a cool bot. For a while, he was the most expensive skin in the game because he has like a flamethrower, and that's pretty sick. So because its gameplay, story, and bot are this good, Outpost easily takes the #1 spot for me. So yeah, with that said, I think that's actually going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you know when I post more awesome videos like this. This was really, really fun to make. It was really good looking back on all these chapters. I don't play Piggy as often as I used to, but it is always cool to look back and see where everything came from. And yeah, there's some real stinkers in book 1, but once you get to the meat and potatoes of it, it gets really, really good. Let me know your list in the comments down below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!